The call came on a Tuesday. Gina was in her lab when her phone buzzed. The voice on the other end was flat and official. "Ms. Kim, this is Space Command. Your brother's ship has returned early. He's asking for you." Gina's heart skipped. Do-hyun wasn't due back for 2 more months. His mining mission to the far reaches of space was supposed to last a full year. "Is he hurt?" she asked, already packing her bag. "No injuries reported. Please come to Landing Bay 7. The call ended. Gina stared at her phone, a cold feeling growing in her stomach. Something was wrong. She could feel it. Space Command was a huge gray building on the edge of the city. Gina showed her ID at 3 different checkpoints before they let her into Landing Bay 7. The medical ship that had brought Do-hyun home sat in the center of the room like a giant metal bug. People in uniforms rushed around it. A man in a white coat approached her. "Dr. Kim, I'm Dr. Park. I've been looking after the returned crew." "What happened to them?" Gina asked. "Why are they back so early?" Dr. Park looked down at his tablet. "There was an incident during a mining operation on asteroid KX-427. The details are unclear. Your brother and 5 others returned on the emergency shuttle. The rest of the crew stayed behind to complete the mission." "An incident?" Gina repeated. "What kind of incident?" "That's classified information, I'm afraid. But your brother has been cleared to go home. He's asking for you." Before Gina could ask more questions, the door to the medical ship opened. And there he was. Do-hyun looked the same as always. Tall and thin, with messy black hair and the small scar above his right eyebrow from when he fell off his bike as a child. He wore the gray jumpsuit given to returning space travelers. When he saw Gina, he smiled. "Hey, little sister," he said. Gina ran to him and threw her arms around his neck. He felt solid and real. He smelled like the cleaning products they used on the medical ships. "What happened?" she whispered against his shoulder. "Are you okay?" "I'm fine," Do-hyun said. His voice sounded normal, but something about the way he held himself was different. Stiffer, more careful. "Can we go home? I'm tired of being poked and prodded." Gina's apartment was small but had a spare room where Do-hyun could stay. He had his own place on the other side of the city, but he agreed it would be easier to stay with Gina for a while. "I'll make some food," Gina said once they arrived. "You must be hungry for real food after all that space ration stuff." Do-hyun stood in the middle of the living room looking around as if he'd never seen the place before. Gina had lived here for 3 years. Do-hyun had visited many times. "That sounds good," he said after a moment too long. In the kitchen, Gina watched him from the corner of her eye as she made a simple meal of rice, kimchi, and soup. Do-hyun picked up a photo from the shelf, a picture of the 2 of them at the beach last summer. He studied it carefully, then put it back in exactly the same spot. When the food was ready, they sat at the small table by the window. Do-hyun picked up his chopsticks, fumbled with them for a second, then began to eat. He chewed each bite exactly, 10 times before swallowing. "So," Gina said, trying to sound casual. "What happened up there? Why did you come back early?" Do-hyun's hand paused halfway to his mouth. "There was an accident," he said. "We had to leave." "What kind of accident?" "Just an accident." He put down his chopsticks. "I'm tired, Gina. Can we talk about it tomorrow?" That night, Gina couldn't sleep. She lay awake, listening to the sounds of her apartment. Usually, when Do-hyun stayed over, she could hear him snoring from the guest room. Tonight, there was nothing but silence. At 3 in the morning, she got up to get a glass of water. As she passed the guest room, she saw that the door was open a crack. Do-hyun was sitting on the edge of the bed, perfectly still, staring at the wall. He wasn't blinking. Gina hurried back to her room, her heart pounding. The next day, Gina called in sick to work. She was a medical researcher at the Seoul Interplanetary Research Center, specializing in how alien environments affected human biology. Today, she would study her brother instead. Do-hyun seemed better in the morning. He made coffee for both of them, though he forgot that Gina always put milk in hers. He talked about normal things, the weather, the news, a movie he wanted to see. But every now and then he would stop mid-sentence, as if listening to something Gina couldn't hear. When Do-hyun went to take a shower, Gina quickly checked his bag. Inside were the standard items Space Command gave to returning crew members. Some basic clothes, toiletries, a tablet with limited access to the net. Nothing unusual. The shower ran for exactly 7 minutes, then stopped. Do-hyun came out with a towel around his waist. As he crossed to the guest room, Gina noticed something strange on his back, a pattern of faint blue lines under his skin like glowing veins. But when he turned, the light shifted and the lines disappeared. "I need to go into work for a few hours," Gina lied after lunch. "Will you be okay here alone?" "Of course," Do-hyun said. He was sitting on the couch flipping through a book without reading it. "I'll just rest." Instead of going to her lab, Gina went to visit Tae-woo, Do-hyun's best friend who had been on the same mission. Tae-woo had also returned on the emergency shuttle. They had known each other since college. Tae-woo's sister Hye-jin let Gina in. "He's in his room," Hye-jin said in a low voice. "He's different since he came back. Quiet. He stares at things." Tae-woo was sitting by the window when Gina entered. Like Do-hyun, he looked physically the same, short with round glasses and a friendly face. But he moved differently, spoke differently. "Gina," he said, not sounding surprised to see her. "You're worried about Do-hyun." It wasn't a question. "What happened on that asteroid, Tae-woo?" Gina asked, sitting across from him. Tae-woo was silent for a long moment. Then he said, "We found something. In the deep mines. Something waiting." A chill ran down Gina's spine. "What do you mean waiting?" "For us," Tae-woo said. His eyes seemed to look through her rather than at her. For a long, long time. Before Gina could ask more questions, Tae-woo suddenly grabbed his head and doubled over in pain. "It hurts," he gasped. "Sometimes it hurts so much." Hye-jin rushed in with a pill and a glass of water. "The doctors gave him medicine for the headaches," she explained as Tae-woo swallowed the pill. "He gets them all the time now." When Gina got home, Do-hyun was exactly where she had left him, in the same position on the couch. The book was still open to the same page. "Did you have a good rest?" she asked. "Yes," he said. Then he winced and pressed his hand to his temple. "Headache?" Gina asked, remembering Tae-woo. Do-hyun nodded. "It's nothing." That night, the headache got worse. Do-hyun curled up on the bathroom floor, his face twisted in pain. Gina helped him back to bed and gave him pain medicine, but it didn't seem to help. As he lay there, eyes closed, face pale, Gina gently pushed up the sleeve of his shirt. There they were again, thin blue lines under his skin, pulsing with a faint light. "What happened to you out there?" she whispered. Do-hyun's eyes snapped open. For a second, just a second, they glowed with the same blue light as the lines on his skin. "Help us," he said in a voice that wasn't quite his own. "Please help us." Then his eyes rolled back, and he passed out. Gina sat on the edge of the bed, her mind racing. Whatever had happened on that asteroid, whatever had come back wearing her brother's face, it needed help. And despite everything, despite her fear and confusion, she knew she would try to give it what it needed. Because somewhere, inside that familiar body might still be her brother, and she would do anything to get him back. Gina didn't sleep that night. She sat beside Do-hyun's bed watching the rise and fall of his chest. The blue lines under his skin had faded, but she knew what she had seen. Something was inside her brother, something that wasn't human. When morning came, Do-hyun woke up as if nothing had happened. He made breakfast, humming a tune that Gina had never heard before. "How are you feeling?" she asked carefully. "Fine," Do-hyun said, cracking eggs into a bowl. "Why wouldn't I be?" Gina watched him. This thing that looked like her brother moved with more confidence today. It was getting better at pretending to be Do-hyun. "You had a bad headache last night," she said. "You passed out." Do-hyun paused, then continued beating the eggs. "Did I? I don't remember." "You said something before you passed out," Gina pressed. "You said, 'Help us.'" The spatula in Do-hyun's hand stopped moving. For a long moment, he stood, with his back to her, completely still. Then he turned and his face was Do-hyun's, but the expression wasn't. It was too careful, too blank. "I need to go out for a while," he said, putting down the spatula. "I'll be back later." Before Gina could stop him, he was gone. Gina went to work that day. She needed to use the lab equipment at the research center. When she arrived, her boss, Dr. Lee, stopped her. "I heard your brother is back," Dr. Lee said. "One of the miners from the KX-427 incident." Gina nodded. "Do you know anything about what happened up there?" Dr. Lee looked around to make sure no one was listening. "Not officially," she said in a low voice. "But there are rumors. They say the mining crew found something in the deep core of the asteroid. Something alive." Gina's heart raced. Alive? Like a new species? Maybe. Or maybe something very old. Dr. Lee leaned closer. "Be careful, Gina. Space Command is watching all the returned crew members very closely." In her lab, Gina pulled up the public records of the mining mission to asteroid KX-427. Most of the information was standard: departure date, crew list, mission objectives. But the mission update log stopped abruptly 3 weeks ago. After that, there was only one entry: emergency return of shuttle with 6 crew members due to medical concerns. Remaining crew continuing mission. Medical concerns. What did that mean? Gina tried to access the medical files of the returned crew, but those were locked behind security clearances she didn't have. She would need to find another way. That evening, Do-hyun came home with food from their favorite restaurant. He seemed more like himself, laughing and telling stories about people they knew. But he never mentioned where he had gone that morning, and Gina didn't ask. After dinner, she said, "I need to take some blood samples from you." Do-hyun stiffened. "Why?" "For my research," Gina lied smoothly. "I'm studying how long-term space travel affects human biology. You're perfect for my study." Do-hyun hesitated, then rolled up his sleeve. "Fine, but just a small sample." Gina prepared, the needle watching his face. He didn't look away like the real Do-hyun always did when getting shots. This Do-hyun watched the needle with curious eyes. When the needle pierced his skin, the blue lines flashed briefly. The blood that filled the vial looked normal, but Gina noticed it seemed to glow faintly in the low light of the apartment. "All done," she said, pressing a cotton ball to the tiny wound. "Thank you." Later, after Do-hyun went to his room, Gina packed the blood sample carefully. Tomorrow, she would take it to her lab for testing. In the middle of the night, Gina woke to the sound of whispers. She crept out of her bedroom and down the hall. Do-hyun's door was closed, but she could hear his voice from inside, speaking words that weren't any language she knew. She pressed her ear to the door. The whispering stopped. Then Do-hyun's voice in clear Korean said, "We know you're there, Gina." She froze. The door opened. Do-hyun stood there, his eyes glowing blue in the darkness. "You want to know what we are?" he said. His voice had a strange echo to it now, as if 2 people were speaking at once. "But you're afraid." Gina swallowed hard. "What have you done with my brother?" "He is here," Do-hyun, or the thing inside him, said. "We share this body, but the sharing is difficult, painful. We are not meant to exist this way." "Then leave him," Gina said, her voice shaking. "Go back to wherever you came from." "We cannot," the thing said. "Our home is gone. We have traveled for millennia, looking for compatible hosts. Your kind is the closest match we have found, but the integration is failing. We are dying, and your brother with us." Gina felt cold all over. "How many of you are there?" 6 of us survived by joining with 6 of your kind. The others of our species remain dormant in the asteroid, waiting for more hosts." The blue glow in Do-hyun's eyes flickered. "Your government knows about us now. They will destroy the asteroid, and then they will destroy us too when they find us." The next day, Gina took Do-hyun's blood sample to her lab. Under the microscope, she saw something impossible. Tiny blue crystals were attached to his red blood cells. The crystals pulsed with light, like tiny hearts beating. Gina ran more tests. The crystals seemed to be both organic and inorganic at the same time. They were sending electrical signals to the cells they were attached to, communicating with them somehow. As she worked, her phone buzzed with a message from an unknown number. It was a short video of Taewoo being taken away by men in black uniforms. The caption read, "They're taking us one by one. You're next." Gina's hands shook as she packed up her equipment. She needed to get back to Do-hyun. When she got home, the apartment was empty. Do-hyun was gone. On the kitchen table was a note in his handwriting. "They came, couldn't fight. Find us at the old bunker." The old bunker was an abandoned military facility outside the city, where they had played as children. Only Gina and Do-hyun knew about it. Gina grabbed her research notes and the remaining blood samples. As she was about to leave, there was a loud, "Knock at the door, Dr. Kim," a man's voice called. "This is Space Command Security. We need to speak with you about your brother." Gina didn't answer. She slipped out the back window and down the fire escape. The old bunker was half buried in the hillside hidden by trees and brush. It had been a storage facility during the last war, but now it was just a concrete shell with rusted metal doors. Gina found Do-hyun inside, huddled in a corner. His skin was pale and the blue lines were visible all over his body now, pulsing, weakly. "They took Taewoo," he said when he saw her. His voice was his own again, thin and scared. "They're going to take us all." Gina knelt beside him. "Is it true? Are you sharing your body with an alien?" Do-hyun nodded weakly. "It's dying, Gina, and it's taking me with it." He grabbed her hand, his fingers ice cold. "You have to help us. You're the only one who can." "How?" Gina asked. "I don't even understand what's happening to you." "You will," Do-hyun said. Then his eyes flashed blue and the other voice came back, the echoing one. "We will show you." Do-hyun's hand gripped Gina's tighter, and suddenly the blue lines on his skin extended onto hers, crawling up her arm like living vines. Gina tried to pull away, but Do-hyun held her firmly. "Don't be afraid," the thing inside him said. "We won't hurt you. We just need you to understand." The blue lines reached Gina's shoulder, her neck, her face, and then the world around her disappeared, replaced by visions of stars and distant worlds. And knowledge, so much knowledge it made her head spin. She saw what the things were, where they came from, and what they wanted. She saw that they weren't invaders. They were refugees. When the visions faded, Gina found herself on the floor of the bunker, gasping for breath. The blue lines were gone from her skin. Do-hyun was watching her, his eyes normal again. "Now you know," he said. "Will you help us?" Gina sat up slowly, her mind racing with everything she had learned. These aliens weren't trying to take over. They were trying to survive just like any living thing would, and her brother was caught in the middle. "Yes," she said finally. "I'll help you, both of you." The old bunker became their hiding place. Gina brought food, water, and medical supplies. She also brought her portable lab equipment, piece by piece, careful not to draw attention. Do-hyun grew weaker each day. The blue lines under his skin pulsed, more slowly. Sometimes he was himself, and sometimes the other being took control, speaking in that strange, echoing voice. "Tell me everything," Gina said on the third day as she set up her microscope on a rusty metal table. "I need to understand what you are if I'm going to help." The thing inside Do-hyun sat up straight. Blue light flickered in his eyes. "We are very old," it said. "We existed as energy patterns in the rings of a gas giant in a distant star system. When our star began to die, we needed to find a new home." "So you came to our solar system?" Gina asked. "We traveled for thousands of years through space," the entity explained. "We can move as energy across the void, but it is difficult. Many of us died. When we found your solar system, we settled in the asteroid belt. We went into a deep sleep, waiting for the right kind of life to find us. And that was the mining crew, Gina said. Yes. When your brother and the others broke into the core of the asteroid, we sensed compatible biology. We joined with them to survive. Gina looked at Do-hyun's pale face. But now you're dying. Why? The joining is not perfect. Your brother's immune system sees us as invaders. It attacks us and the attack harms him too. The blue light in Do-hyun's eyes flickered. We did not mean for this to happen. We do not wish to cause harm. Gina believed it. The vision the entity had shared with her showed its true nature. These beings were not cruel or violent. They were simply trying to survive, like any living thing would. The others who came back with my brother? Gina said. They all have one of your kind inside. Them? Yes, 6 of us survived by joining with 6 humans. The rest of our kind remained dormant in the asteroid. And Space Command is hunting you down, Gina said. Why? What do they want? They fear what they do not understand, the entity said. And they want to study us, use our knowledge, learn our technology. What technology? Gina asked. Instead of answering, the entity made Do-hyun's hand reach out. It touched the microscope, and suddenly the simple device began to glow with blue light. The microscope changed, twisted, its parts rearranging, into something new. When the blue light faded, it was no longer just a microscope. It was something much more advanced. Look, the entity said. Gina peered into the eyepiece. What she saw made her gasp. She could see the individual atoms that made up the blood sample. On the slide. We understand matter at its most basic level, the entity said. We can change it, reshape it. This is what your government wants. They want weapons, Gina whispered. Yes, but that is not our purpose. We are explorers, scholars. We only wish to live in peace. Do-hyun's body suddenly slumped. The blue light faded from his eyes and he was himself again. Gina, he said, his voice weak. I don't have much time. That night, as Do-hyun slept fitfully, Gina worked with the enhanced microscope. She could now see exactly what was happening, inside her brother's cells. The blue crystals were trying to bond with his DNA, but his immune system was attacking them. The battle was killing both the crystals and Do-hyun's cells. Gina needed more equipment, more samples. But she couldn't go back to her lab. Space Command would be watching it. She called the one person she thought might help. Dr. Lee, she said when her boss answered. I need your help. There was a long pause. Then Dr. Lee said, I've been worried about you, Gina. Everyone's looking for you. I know, but this is important. It's about the KX-427 incident. Another pause. Meet me at the old university greenhouse in 1 hour. Come alone. The greenhouse was abandoned, its glass walls dirty and broken in places. Plants grew wild inside, reclaiming the space. Dr. Lee was waiting in the center, surrounded by equipment she had brought. You have 10 minutes to convince me I shouldn't call Space Command right now, she said when Gina entered. Gina told her everything about the entities, about their home, about their abilities and their peaceful nature, about how they were dying, along with their human hosts. I need to help them, Gina finished, but I need your help to do it. Dr. Lee was silent for a long time. Then she said, Show me the blood samples. Gina took out the vials of Do-hyun's blood. Even in the dim light of the greenhouse, they glowed faintly blue. Dr. Lee examined them under one of her own microscopes. Extraordinary, she murmured. These crystals, they're like nothing I've ever seen. They're changing the blood at a molecular level. Can you help me save my brother? Gina asked. And the entity inside him? Dr. Lee looked up from the microscope. What you're asking is dangerous, Gina. If Space Command finds out, they'll what, kill us? They're already planning to do that. Please, Dr. Lee, there's no one else I can turn to. Dr. Lee sighed. I'll help you, but not here. I have a private lab in my home. We'll go there. Dr. Lee's private lab was small but well-equipped. Together they worked through the night, analyzing the blood samples and testing different treatments. The problem is the immune response, Dr. Lee said as dawn approached. We need to make your brother's body accept the entity as part of itself, not as an invader. Like an organ transplant, Gina said. We need anti-rejection drugs. Much stronger than that, Dr. Lee said. We need to change the way his immune system sees these crystals. We need to change his DNA. Gina stared at her. That's impossible. Not with the right tools. Dr. Lee held up a vial of blue liquid. I've been studying gene therapy for years. This might work. Might? Gina asked. It's the best chance we have. When they returned to the bunker, Do-hyun was barely conscious. The blue lines under his skin were faint, pulsing weakly. The entity is dying, Dr. Lee said as she prepared the injection. And your brother with it. Gina held Do-hyun's hand. Can you hear me? She asked. His eyes opened slightly. Blue light flickered in them. We hear, the entity whispered. We're going to try to save you, Gina said. Both of you. But it's risky. We understand risk, the entity said. We have crossed the void between stars. We have slept for millennia in the cold dark. We are not afraid. Do-hyun's eyes cleared, and it was her brother looking at her now. Do it, Gina, he said. I'm tired of fighting. Dr. Lee inserted the needle into Do-hyun's arm. The blue liquid flowed into his veins, mixing with the blue lines already there. For a moment, nothing happened. Then Do-hyun's back arched, and he screamed. Blue light erupted from his skin, so bright that Gina and Dr. Lee had to shield their eyes. The light lasted for 10 seconds, then faded. Do-hyun lay still, not breathing. No, Gina whispered, reaching for him. No, please. Then Do-hyun gasped, his eyes flying open. His body glowed from within, blue light shining through his skin like a lamp behind paper. The light pulsed once, twice, then settled into a steady, soft glow that gradually faded until his skin looked normal again. Do-hyun? Gina said, her voice shaking. He sat up slowly, looking at his hands, his arms. The blue lines were gone, but there was a new awareness in his eyes. It worked, he said, and his voice had a slight echo to it, not as pronounced as before, but still there. We are one now. The entity? Dr. Lee asked, leaning forward. Not separate anymore, Do-hyun said. We have joined completely. 2 minds in one body. 2 sets of memories. He looked at Gina. Your brother is still here, Gina, but so am I. We share this form now. Gina didn't know what to say. This wasn't her brother anymore, but it wasn't not her brother either. It was something new. Do-hyun, or the new being that was both Do-hyun and, not, smiled at her confusion. It's okay, he said. We need time to adjust too, but we're alive. You saved us. Before Gina could respond, there was a loud crash from outside. Lights flashed through the cracks in the bunker walls. Space Command, Dr. Lee said, her face pale. They found us. Hide, Dr. Lee whispered, pushing Gina and Do-hyun toward the back of the bunker. There might be another way out, but it was too late. The rusted metal door of the bunker burst open. Men in black uniforms rushed in, guns pointed at them. Bright lights blinded Gina. Don't move, a voice shouted. Hands where we can see them. Gina raised her hand slowly. Beside her, Dr. Lee did the same. But Do-hyun stood perfectly still, his eyes beginning to glow blue. Do-hyun, don't, Gina whispered. They'll shoot you. The glow in his eyes faded, and he raised his hands. A tall man in a gray uniform stepped into the bunker. Captain Han, the head of Space Command Security. Gina had seen him on the news many times. Dr. Kim, Captain Han said, looking at Gina. You've been busy, stealing lab equipment, harboring an infected crew member, conducting illegal experiments. He turned to Dr. Lee. And Dr. Lee, I expected better from the head of xenobiology. Captain Han, Dr. Lee said, her voice steady. What we've discovered here is too important to save it for the debriefing. Captain Han cut her off. He nodded to his men. Take them all to the facility. Separate transport for the infected one. 2 soldiers grabbed Do-hyun, who didn't resist. As they led him away, he looked back at Gina, his eyes flashing blue for just a second. A message passed between them, wordless, but clear. Don't worry. We have a plan. The Space Command facility was underground, a maze of white corridors and locked rooms. Gina was taken to a small cell with a bed, a toilet, and nothing else. She sat on the bed for hours, wondering what was happening to Do-hyun and Dr. Lee. Finally, the door opened. Captain Han entered with a tablet in his hand. "Where is my brother?" Gina demanded. "Being examined," Captain Han said, along with the thing inside him. He sat down across from her. "Do you know what you've done, Dr. Kim? You've helped an alien life form take over a human body." "That's not what happened," Gina said. "They're sharing the body now, coexisting. My brother agreed to it." "Your brother was already compromised when he made that choice," Captain Han said. "These entities are dangerous. They can manipulate matter at the atomic level. Imagine what they could do with that ability." "They're not dangerous," Gina insisted. "They're refugees. They lost their home. So they decided to take ours?" Captain Han shook his head. "We can't allow that." "What are you going to do with them?" Gina asked, afraid of the answer. "Study them, learn from them, and then remove them from their hosts." "You can't separate them now," Gina said. "The integration is complete. If you try to remove the entity, you'll kill my brother too." Captain Han's face hardened. Sometimes sacrifices must be made for the greater good. Gina was taken to a large room with screens covering one wall. Dr. Lee was already there, sitting at a table. "Are you okay?" Gina asked, sitting beside her. "For now," Dr. Lee said quietly. "They want our help to understand the entities. And if we refuse, then they'll proceed without us." Dr. Lee nodded toward the screens. On the central screen, Gina could see Do-hyun. He was strapped to a table in a white room. Scientists in protective suits moved around him, setting up equipment. One of them held a large needle. "What are they doing?" Gina asked, her heart racing. "They're going to extract tissue samples," Dr. Lee said. "They want to see how the integration works." Captain Han entered the room. "Good, you're both here. You're going to help us understand these aliens." "And if we don't?" Gina asked. "Then we'll figure it out ourselves," Captain Han said. "But that would be much more invasive for your brother." Gina looked at the screen again. The scientist with the needle was approaching Do-hyun. "Stop," she said. "I'll help you. Just don't hurt him." Captain Han smiled. "I knew you'd be reasonable." Gina and Dr. Lee worked in a lab at the facility. They were given access to all of Space Command's research on the entities, which was more extensive than they had realized. "They've been studying the asteroid for weeks," Dr. Lee whispered as they looked through the files. "They knew about the entities before the mining crew returned. That's why they're so prepared," Gina said. "They were expecting this." The files showed that Space Command had detected unusual energy readings from the asteroid months ago. They had sent the mining crew specifically to investigate, not telling them what they might find. "My brother and the others were test subjects," Gina said, anger rising in her. "They sent them there knowing what might happen. And now they have what they wanted," Dr. Lee said. 6 humans integrated with alien entities. Gina looked through more files. Space Command was fascinated by the entity's ability to manipulate matter. They had plans to use this ability to create new weapons, new technology. "We need to get Do-hyun out of here," Gina said. "All of them." "How? This place is locked down tight." Before Gina could answer, an alarm began to sound. Red lights flashed in the corridor outside the lab. Captain Han burst into the room. "What did you do?" he demanded. "Nothing," Gina said, genuinely confused. "What's happening?" "Your brother," Captain Han spat. "He's escaped." The screens in the control room showed chaos. In the white room where Do-hyun had been held, the scientists were unconscious on the floor. The restraints that had held Do-hyun were empty, melted away. How did he get out? Captain Han was asking his security team. "Where is he now?" "We don't know, sir," one of them answered. The cameras in that section all went dark at once. "Lock down the facility," Captain Han ordered. "No one gets in or out." As the soldiers rushed to obey, Gina noticed something on one of the screens, a flicker of blue light in a dark corridor. Do-hyun was on the move. Captain Han ordered Gina and Dr. Lee taken back to their cells. As they were led down a corridor, the light suddenly went out. In the darkness, someone grabbed Gina's arm. "Don't make a sound," Do-hyun's voice whispered in her ear. The soldiers who had been escorting them lay on the floor, unconscious but breathing. "How did you do that?" Gina asked as Do-hyun led her and Dr. Lee through the dark corridors. "We understand. Electricity," Do-hyun said, and his voice had that echo to it. "We can control it, redirect it." "Where are we going?" Dr. Lee asked. "To find the others," Do-hyun said. "The other 5 who returned with us. They're being held here too." They moved through the facility, avoiding soldiers and security cameras. Sometimes they would come to a locked door, and Do-hyun would touch it with a glowing blue hand. The lock would click open. "It's working," Gina realized. "The integration. You're stronger now." "Yes," Do-hyun said. "When your treatment fully connected us, both our strengths combined. We can do things now that neither of us could do alone." They found the first of the other returned crew members in a cell similar to Gina's. It was Tae-woo, looking pale but alive. His eyes glowed blue when he saw them. "You found a way," he said to Do-hyun, his voice also having that strange echo. "You completed the integration." "Thanks to my sister," Do-hyun said. "She can help the rest of you too." One by one, they found the other 4 crew members, Minho, Soo-yoon, Tae-hee, and Jin-woo. All were weak, the entities inside them struggling to survive. "We need to get them out of here," Gina said. "Somewhere safe where I can treat them." "There's nowhere on Earth that's safe for us now," Do-hyun said. "Not with Space Command hunting us." "Then where?" Do-hyun and Tae-woo exchanged a look. "We have a plan," Do-hyun said. "But first, we need to go back to the lab. There's something there we need." The lab was empty when they returned. On a table was Gina's research, including the formula for the treatment that had saved Do-hyun. "This is what we need," Do-hyun said, gathering the papers. "With this, we can help the others." Suddenly, the doors to the lab slid open. Captain Han stood there with a squad of soldiers all pointing guns at them. "Step away from each other," Captain Han ordered. "Now." Gina and Dr. Lee moved back, but Do-hyun and the other 5 didn't move. They stood together, their eyes beginning to glow blue. "This is your last warning," Captain Han said. "Stand down, or we will open fire." "We don't want to fight," Do-hyun said, his voice echoing. "We just want to live." "That's not an option," Captain Han said. He nodded to his soldiers. "Fire." The soldiers raised their guns. But before they could shoot, the air in the room began to shimmer with blue light. The guns in the soldiers' hands melted away like ice in hot water. Captain Han stared in disbelief. "We told you," Do-hyun said. "We understand matter. We can change it." The blue light grew brighter, surrounding Do-hyun and the others like a shield. Captain Han backed away, his face pale with fear. "What are you?" he whispered. "We are something new," Do-hyun said. "Not just human, not just alien. Something more than either." He turned to Gina. "We need to go now. Will you come with us?" Gina looked at her brother's face, the face she had known all her life, now home to something far beyond her understanding. She hesitated, and in that moment of hesitation, a soldier hidden in the corridor fired a shot. The bullet hit Do-hyun in the chest. He stumbled backward, blue light pouring from the wound. "Do-hyun!" Gina screamed, running to him. He fell to his knees, blue light flickering around him like a dying flame. Time seemed to stop as Do-hyun fell to the floor, blue light pouring from the bullet wound in his chest. Gina knelt beside him, her hands pressing against the wound, trying to stop the flow of light. "Do-hyun, stay with me," she whispered. "Please, stay with me." His eyes flickered, the blue glow fading in and out. "Gina," he said, his voice weak. "It's okay." The other 5 crew members formed a circle around them, their eyes glowing bright blue. Captain Han and his soldiers backed away, uncertain what to do now that their weapons were gone. "He needs help," Gina said, looking up at Tae-woo. "We need to get him out of here." Tae-woo nodded. He and the others joined hands, creating a complete circle with Gina and Do-hyun in the center. The blue light from their eyes grew stronger, connecting like beams of energy. "What are they doing?" Captain Han demanded, but no one answered him. The blue light filled the room so bright that Gina had to close her eyes. She felt a strange sensation, like her body was being pulled apart and put back together. When the light faded and she opened her eyes, they were no longer in the lab. They were back in the old bunker. "How did we get here?" Gina asked, looking around in disbelief. "Matter transport," Tae-woo explained, his voice echoing. "Moving atoms from one place to another. It takes a lot of energy. We won't be able to do it again soon." Gina turned her attention back to Do-hyun. The wound in his chest was still leaking blue light, but slower now. "What can I do?" she asked. "How do I help him?" "Your lab," Dr. Lee said. She had been transported with them and looked a bit dazed. "We need your equipment. The treatment you created, it might help." Gina ran to the corner of the bunker where they had set up the makeshift lab. The microscope that the entity had enhanced was still there, along with some of her equipment. She quickly prepared a stronger dose of the treatment. "This might work," she said, filling a syringe with blue liquid, "but it's never been tested at this high a dose." "Do it," Tae-woo said. "It's his only chance." Gina injected the treatment directly into Do-hyun's chest, near the wound. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the blue light from the wound began to pulse, getting brighter, then dimmer, then bright again. Do-hyun's body arched up, then fell back. The blue light spread throughout his body, visible through his skin. It concentrated around the bullet wound, which slowly began to close. "It's working," Dr. Lee whispered. "The entities can heal themselves, and their hosts." The wound closed completely, leaving only a faint blue mark on Do-hyun's chest. His eyes opened, glowing blue, then returned to their normal color. "Do-hyun?" Gina asked. He sat up slowly, touching the spot where the bullet had entered. "We're okay," he said, and his voice had that echo again, but stronger now. "Both of us." Gina threw her arms around him, tears streaming down her face. "I thought I lost you." "You saved us," Do-hyun said. "Again?" They didn't have much time. Space Command would be looking for them, and this time they would come with bigger weapons. "We need to treat the others," Gina said, looking at the 5 crew members who had been rescued from the facility. They were all showing signs of the failed integration. Pale skin, weakness, occasional flashes of blue light under their skin. With Dr. Lee's help, Gina prepared doses of the treatment for each of them. One by one, they went through the same process Do-hyun had. The blue light spread through their bodies, balancing the human and alien parts into one whole being. When it was done, all 6 of them stood together, looking stronger than before. Their eyes would occasionally flash blue, but otherwise they looked normal. "What now?" Gina asked. "Space Command won't stop hunting you." "We need to reach the others," Do-hyun said. "The rest of our kind still sleeping in the asteroid." "Space Command is planning to destroy the asteroid," Dr. Lee reminded them. "Then we need to get there first," Tae-woo said. "We need a ship." The plan was dangerous. Min-ho and Soo-yoon, 2 of the crew members, had been pilots. They knew the security codes for the smaller ships at the Space Command launch facility. If they could get to one of those ships, they could reach the asteroid before Space Command destroyed it. "I'm coming with you," Gina said. Do-hyun shook his head. "It's too dangerous." "If we fail, I'm not letting you go alone," Gina insisted. "Not again." Dr. Lee agreed to stay behind. If they didn't return, someone needed to tell the world what had really happened, that the entities weren't invaders, but refugees seeking peace. The Space Command launch facility was heavily guarded, but the 6 integrated crew members had abilities now that the guards couldn't match. They could manipulate electricity, confuse security systems, even bend light around themselves to become nearly invisible. They moved through the facility like ghosts, with Gina following close behind. When they reached the hangar where the small scout ships were kept, Minho and Suyun went to work on the computers, entering codes that would give them access to a ship. "How much longer?" Dohyun asked, keeping watch. "Almost there," Soyun said, her fingers flying over the keyboard. "Just a few more." Alarms suddenly blared throughout the facility. Red lights flashed. A voice over the speakers announced, "Intruder alert! All personnel to battle stations." "They know we're here," Taewoo said. The door to one of the scout ships opened with a hiss. "I got it!" Suyun called. "Let's go!" They rushed inside the ship, Gina last. As the door was closing, soldiers burst into the hangar, firing weapons at them. A bolt of energy hit the closing door, sending sparks flying. Inside, Minho and Suyun took the pilot seats, starting the ship's engines. The others strapped into the passenger seats. "Hang on," Minho called as the ship lifted off the ground. "This is going to be rough." The ship shot forward, crashing through the hangar doors and out into the night sky. Behind them, other ships were scrambling to chase them, but Minho was a skilled pilot. He pushed the scout ship to its limits, racing toward space. "They're going to follow us," Taewoo said, looking at the radar. "And they have bigger ships with weapons." "We just need to reach the asteroid first," Dohyun said. "Once we get there, we can wake the others." The ship broke through Earth's atmosphere, heading toward the asteroid belt. On the radar, they could see at least 3 Space Command ships in pursuit. "We're not going to make it," Gina said, watching. The bigger ships gaining on them. Dohyun unstrapped from his seat and went to the back of the ship where the engine controls were. He placed his hands on the control panel, and blue light spread from his fingers into the ship's systems. "What are you doing?" Gina asked. "Improving our engines," Dohyun said, his voice echoing. "Making them more efficient." The ship suddenly lurched forward, its speed nearly doubling. The pursuing ships fell behind. "It worked," Suyun called from the pilot's seat. "We're going to make it." The asteroid looked ordinary from the outside, just a large rock floating in space. But as they approached, Gina could see faint blue light glowing from cracks in its surface. "There," Dohyun said, pointing. "That's where the mining crew broke through." Minho landed the ship near the crack. They put on spacesuits, though Dohyun said the 6 integrated crew members could survive in space for short periods without them. Gina needed hers, though. She was still fully human. They made their way into the asteroid through the crack. Inside, the walls glowed with the same blue light Gina had seen in Dohyun's veins. The light got brighter as they moved deeper. In the center of the asteroid was a large chamber. The walls were covered with blue crystals, pulsing gently with light. In the middle of the chamber was a pool of glowing blue liquid. "These are our people," Dohyun said, his voice full of emotion even through the spacesuit communicator. "Thousands of us, waiting." "What will you do now?" Gina asked. Dohyun turned to her. Through his helmet, she could see his eyes glowing blue. "We want to wake them, to offer the same choice to others on Earth, not to take over but to join, to share. Human and entity, living together." "People will be afraid," Gina said. "They won't understand." "That's why we need you," Dohyun said, "to help them understand, to show them what we can be together." As they spoke, the radar on their suits picked up the approaching Space Command ships. "They're here," Taewoo said. "And they have weapons that can destroy this whole asteroid." "Then we need to act now," Dohyun said. He stepped toward the pool of blue liquid. "We need to wake our people." He reached out, his hand hovering over the pool. "Gina," he said, turning back to her. "Thank you for healing us, for believing in us, for everything." Then he plunged his hand into the blue liquid. The pool erupted with light, spreading up his arm and throughout his body. The light spread to the other 5 integrated crew members, connecting them all in a network of blue energy. The light grew, filling the chamber, washing over Gina. But it didn't hurt her. It felt warm, gentle. Through the bright light, Gina saw her brother smile at her. Not just her brother, but the entity that shared his body too. 2 beings, speaking through one voice. Thank you, they whispered again. The blue light shot out, from the asteroid in all directions, a beacon in the darkness of space, a message to Earth, a message to the universe. We are here. We come in peace. We want to share this journey with you. As the light faded, Gina looked at Doyun and the others. They stood tall, their eyes glowing with purpose. They were something new in the universe. Not just human, not just alien, but a bridge between worlds. A new beginning.